It's good to see everybody over there in the chat too. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to get logged in and settled. I'll ask Michelle some random questions. If we had music going, what would you like to listen to? What do you have a go-to right now?
Oh, so I love jazz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a little like maybe outdated, but I really enjoy it.
No, I think it's soothing.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it's not soothing for me because I actually like pay attention to it and I get like all riled up about it because I'm listening to I used to play jazz. So I kind of like think about that and I like actually pay attention to this. This will sound weird now, the science of the music.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all.
So, yeah. And I don't know if you watch, like, do you watch the Colbert Show?
Sometimes.
But there's a guy there, the musical guy, Jean-Baptiste, is just phenomenal.
Really? Okay.
He is absolutely phenomenal.
We have folks responding too in our chat that Daylin played a jazz bass and Phoebe Bridgers is on Riley's go-to list right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just let Spotify pick for me. And apparently this is maybe will not be a surprise. I listen to a lot of like country and folk music. I don't know if that's my Southern roots, but it just makes me feel comfortable. So you play the jazz piano. Wow.
Well, I play piano and then it happens to be either classical or jazz. So
that is quite impressive. All right.
Yes.
I mean, I knew you were impressive before. Piano is the instrument I wish that I had kept playing.
You know what I always say though, if I knew better, I would not have played the piano or not picked the piano because you can't move it around very well.
It's a little more difficult.
You can't go to the park and like just play the piano. You could play the flute, you could play the guitar, whatever. You could play the tambourine, anything.
And when it's warmer, I think up at Council Crest, they do have an outdoor piano, or they at least did prior to COVID.
They had it outside the art museum there.
No piano circles in the park. That's too funny. All right. We're at our 4:33 mark as we've let folks roll in. So I guess we'll start since we're doing the networking portion first. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you all for joining us for our first Power Pairing event of 2021. So as folks join, please pop your name, your company, and the region or where you're joining us from in the chat box so we can get to know who's in the room before we go have some one-on-one conversations. If we haven't met, and some of you may be like, I think he used to have another name, I'm Cara Turano, and I am TAO's COO as of Monday, and I'm delighted to be here. So as we get started, I'm going to give a little bit of background information on this program and how we've evolved it, aside from just being online. So after hearing from our women tech execs that there wasn't a space readily available to connect and collaborate, and this was just for women tech executives, because we know how fabulous PDX WIT is, and we have lots of places where women can connect, but we were really looking for a space for tech execs. We started a series that focused on supporting these women tech execs by bringing them together. And while the region has tons of women serving in tech leadership roles, what we kept hearing is, well, I'm still the only woman on my leadership team, or I'm siloed into my functional role. And as somebody that works in HR, as a tech company, I only meet with other HR leaders, and finance said the same thing, and marketing said the same thing. So we envisioned a group that would be open to women leaders at tech and tech-enabled companies, regardless of your functional role, to network and to learn. So Michelle is a great example. She works in tech at the Trailblazers, who most of you are likely aware is our NBA basketball team. So not necessarily what you would think of as a tech company. So Michelle represents a tech-enabled company. So we added one additional component beyond just the opportunity to network and learn, where we encouraged leaders to bring a future leader or mentee to ensure that we continue building our dynamic pipeline of diverse talent. And we all know that you can be what you can see a little more readily. So I've got my Kamala vice president, real life action figure on my desk. I never thought that I could be vice president, and now it seems much more like a reality. So in 2020, we had one of these in person. It was amazing. And then we had 3 virtual, which were also amazing. But we served as a connection point for over 160 women leaders in our tech ecosystem. Where do we get our own Kamala? I will find out and drop that in the chat. Such a good question. So based on some feedback from our event last November, y'all really valued the roll call we did at the beginning because it helped you feel connected to the folks that were here and enabled a little bit of networking, which we know has been challenging in this online world. So we are going to incorporate a round of one-on-one networking at the beginning of all of our power pairing events in 2020 so that we can get to know each other and work on building the relationships and mentorships of support that we know are hugely impactful to the women in our community. So before we get started, I'm going to give you a little brief rundown on Run the World, which is our new event platform. And the best part of this platform is that it's founded and developed by a dynamic pair of women who were told back in February of last year that a platform like this did not need to exist. Then COVID, and I think by the end of April, they'd raised $16 million. So there you go for some women's resilience and overcoming adversity. So this platform allows panel discussions to be more interactive, and it has a cocktail party. That was in quotation marks. So wine or beverage is not going to magically pop out of your computer, which would be amazing. So that's cocktail party is for the networking and personal connection in a virtual setting. So if you fill out your profile, it's accessible to all attendees. So I see folks from Supply and Nike and DAT, which is awesome. You'll have access to your camera and microphone as soon as we move into the one-on-one conversation. So we can see your avatar or your photo and your name and company, and you'll see each other face-to-face in a minute. So our networking portion is going to run for 30 minutes. We will allow you to have 5-minute one-on-one conversations with 6 other attendees who are participating today. And the way this platform works is it just kind of throws you in with somebody. So it's really pretty cool. It's like bumping into a new person on your way to the other side of the room at a real event. You'll be able to chat, find out more about who they are and what they're working on right now. And then following your first conversation, you'll be paired up with another person and launched directly into the conversation. It's really, really fun. And then after our network session, the TAO staff will bring you back into this main room where we'll get started with our main event, which is getting to know tech leader Michelle Soares, who's sitting right here in front of me in her blazer shirt. If you need a prompt to get you started tonight, think of a woman who inspires you and what some of her qualities are that you admire. This prompt will be visible to you when we start the conversations. But I will tell you in my last experience, we didn't really need the prompt. We just talked. So without further ado, we are going to launch into some networking, and we'll see y'all back here in 30 minutes. And the mic, I'm going to get Peggy Miller in here with the mic. I hope y'all made some good connections and enjoyed a taste of something that resembles in-person networking. I felt like it was. I got to meet a few folks that I have not met, and I also got to talk to dear friends. So that was a bonus. And Crystal, I have to give a shout out because I didn't talk about it with you privately, but I always get upset when I don't see your cat on our calls. So just know I missed your cat today. So I am super delighted to introduce Peggy Miller, who I think is here. Ruthie, do we have Peggy?
Peggy is here. So Peggy, all you have to do, oh, there we go.
There we go. So I click this. I think we're all learning new technology together. There we go. So Peggy is here. So I am super excited to introduce Peggy Miller, CEO of Packstar, who will have to update her title with us now that Packstar has been acquired. And she is TAO's Sam Blackman Technology Executive of the Year Award winner from 2020, our first to accept the award virtually. So first, she's a true trailblazer, pun intended. She's going to introduce tonight's guest. Wow. See, this platform actually gave me an audience laugh, which I've missed tremendously over the last 10 months. So thank you, Peggy and Michelle, for that. Peggy's been a consistent sponsor of TAO's endeavors to empower more women to become leaders in the tech sector. She is truly inspiring. Last year's Power Pairing events explored themes like emotional intelligence and beating burnout. And we ended the year with a panel of women leaders sharing their superpowers that help them through their careers, but also excel in their careers. And that evening, hearing personal stories and lessons from these powerful women was such a popular event that we decided to continue these conversations into 2021 with these intimate fireside chat style interviews with 4 tech leaders. So we find ourselves continuing to work remotely, facing new opportunities and challenges as women, technologists, and leaders. And we are excited about the momentum that is building around this group of women. And we're grateful for the support of our sponsor, Packstar, our featured guests, and you as attendees for being here today when we all know we have been sitting in rooms like this for many hours. And Peggy, I'm going to hand the mic over to you and let you give us your thoughts about this evening.
Well, thank you, Cara. Can everybody hear me? All right, great. Well, needless to say, Packstar is excited to invest in this 2021 edition of Power Pairing. And we know that opportunities for networking and connection help foster, empower, embolden women tech leadership in our community. We're committed to focusing on women leaders and the qualities they embody that make them uniquely qualified to thrive as part of a tech and tech-enabled organizations. So tonight it is my pleasure, and I want you to know, Michelle, I've just been so excited when you accepted to be our speaker tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Soares, the Vice President of Information Technology for the Portland Trailblazers. In this new role, Michelle directs all technology for both the Trailblazers broadcasting and their information technology departments. Oh my gosh, don't trip on the cord and unplug anything. Anyway, prior to joining the Blazers, Michelle was Global and U.S. IT Enablement Director for KPMG for 12 years. She worked for Wyndham Worldwide in international service delivery and application development, and that's for hotels worldwide. And she worked at AIG delivering e-business and content management solutions. This is a fabulous career already, Michelle, and now you're at our wonderful Trailblazers. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce all of you to Michelle Soares and to turn this over to Cara to find out all of Michelle's secrets to share with us.
Thank you, Peggy. You are wonderful as always. And as we start this fireside chat, I have to give a big thank you to the women of TAO, Ruthie Ditzler, Riley O'Brien, Sally Bell, and maybe Elizabeth Allen, who are going to engage with you all in the chat. So please keep the conversation going as we get to know Michelle. And I've had the opportunity to network with Michelle a little bit, even in this COVID world. So Michelle, I'm going to share a story that impressed me when I talked to you. So it's sports and it's tech. So how pretty not male dominated, right? So Michelle and I are on a call with Krista Stout, who runs innovation for the Trailblazers. And I think the story that y'all shared was you were doing a roundtable with all like VPs of IT, CIOs, and innovation leads around the NBA, right? On a Zoom.
Right.
And you
trying to figure out which story you were going to tell.
Yeah, this one. And I think you shared that you scrolled through the names of the participants and you thought, great, I see a name, no pronouns, but Courtney could go either way. There may be one other woman in this room, and it wound up not being a woman. And so out of how many people, there were how many women on this call for tech and innovation for the NBA? 2 of you?
2 of us.
2 of you.
There were about like 45.
Oh, wait, you're cutting in and out a little bit. So you had 45 men
Yeah.
and 2 women, both with the same organization. We all should be very proud of our Portland Trailblazers if we're not already. So, all right, you've laid out some of the pretty traditional stats. So how is it that you got into tech as your career? How did you even start on this path?
Oh, wow. So let me warn everybody, it's not anything inspirational, right? So what happened was I used to play music a lot. Like I play the piano, and I used to play classical jazz music. I was a concert pianist. I played in a band. I played for commercials. I composed for commercials. I taught music. It was all about music. And I made an okay living. It was just like I was literally in college and just like starting to get out of college. And my mom, who was a teacher, said, go get a real job, like a proper 9 to 5, something that is stable. These gigs, like they come and go and whatever. So I said, you know what, I'll go take like a postgraduate course, right? And I didn't know what to do because I wasn't really interested in doing anything except music. So a friend of mine was going to do this associate degree in computer programming. And it was close by. I said, yeah, why not? I'll tag along. And 2 years later, they gave us an internship at a regular, software consulting company. And this is all in India, by the way. I grew up in India. So this happened there. And I started programming for them, writing SQL, writing Visual Basic, just code. And did a couple of projects. And then they said, hey, we're opening up a new office in the US. And we'd like to fly a couple of you guys out there to start working on projects out there. So I said, oh, wow, this is great. Never been to the US, never left the country, none of that. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Went to get my visa, got rejected. I was like horribly, horribly dismayed and very sad and just depressed. And I said, oh, well, whatever, pick yourself up and life goes on, right? 6 months later, they said, oh, the waiting period is over. You can go and try for the visa again. And I was nervous as heck because I already got rejected once. I'm like, oh my God. And you don't know why you're getting rejected. It's just like some random thing that they do and you get rejected. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? What questions are they going to ask? How do I answer? Da, 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 da. Finally went there, got the visa. The project starts in 5 days. So I had 4 days to leave my family, all my friends, and come to the US. And I did that with 2 suitcases, the biggest ones that the airline would allow me to have, and $100 because that was the only legal amount you could fly with at the time. And I came over to Los Angeles and I started living the dream. So that's what I did.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot that is really inspiring in that story, but I think the most inspiring is that you started in LA with $100. I'm not really sure that.
Yeah, and we didn't have credit cards or anything because, I was a complete, I was on a visa. I never lived here before. I had no credit history. I didn't have a bank account, nothing. No social security, nothing.
So, what did that look like? You show up, you have a project. Do you have anywhere to live? Was their house?
They had a hotel. They had a hotel that they put me up in for 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks I had to go find an apartment. So I just went walking around and found the first apartment I could, and that was it.
And that was it.
Yeah, and the company put a deposit down in the apartment and everything. So yeah.
I mean, that's really, really, really inspiring. I love that story. So then what happened? What happened next? How did you go from writing code and, did you plan on staying in the U.S.? Was that part of?
I didn't think I would stay. I thought I was just going to be here for a few months. I'll check it out. I'll get some experience. I'll go back with the big U.S. stamp. So it'll be great in India to have And then it just wound up like from one project. I went to Austin to work at Dell. I came back to Emeryville in the Bay Area, did another project there. And, oh, by the way, when I was in LA, I came back to LA. I didn't know how to drive this whole time.
Wait, lean forward a little. Okay.
What's that? Oh, and
Yeah.
I'd never driven a car before. And coming from India, where we drive on the other side of the street, I almost got run over while I was trying to cross the street one day. And I was like, no, now I really got to go and learn how to drive. So I learned how to drive. And that was it. But I decided to stay. I joined another company, a US-based company that would sponsor my green card. And I loved programming. I loved it. I was good at it. So I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. It pays the bills. It's great. And I love being in the US.
Wow. I mean, it's so interesting because one of the questions that we had was like, talk about some challenges that you've overcome in your career. And like, you're kind of sort of talking through them. Like, I immigrated. I didn't know how to drive. Like, I just had this passion for tech. And every time it seems like you kind of came to a speed bump in the road, you sort of embraced it and said, okay, how do I learn from this and get to the next phase?
Yeah. And you don't think of it that way. It's
No.
just, it's just like, okay, I need to go and get a credit card. How do I do that? I need to open a bank account. How do you do that? How do you get a driver's license? It's like simple stuff that you just, take for granted when you grow up here. And then just trying to figure out, because like every new state I went to, I had to get a new driver's license. So I had to sit the test there again and all of that. It was just, thank God I was young and I could just like figure it out and do it.
It's really, really, it's like really impressive. I mean, it's very cool. And it shows like that you obviously have some natural leadership skills. And so that's kind of like where I want to focus next. Like, how do you define leadership and how did you see it manifest in your career as you were, changing jobs and moving states, and you're still you're a woman in an industry that's only 25% women. I mean, like, how did that present itself? How did it manifest itself?
So leadership came a little later. Like, this was me sitting initially, just a coder sitting in my cube, and just people gave me requirements. I wrote code. It worked great. Move on. Right. As I grew a little older, a few years later, I became like a technical manager of the team, and then I had a team under me, and I had to figure out, okay, how to get all these people to work together and deliver something that a client would want, because I was a consultant then. And with that, you start to your mind kind of changes. It's not about the team. Like, you
Hold on,
have to,
Michelle, you're going in and out a little bit. Yes.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Right.
Sorry. I'm like, this is a great story. And I'm like, you may have to go back to the beginning. You said leadership came later.
Yeah. Leadership came a little later because, I was a developer first. Right. And I think what happened was, as I grew into that developer role, I had a team of developers now working under me as their technical manager. Right. And it became about figuring out how to get everybody to work together to deliver something that was of like remarkable quality to a client.
Yeah.
Right. So now you have to deal with different personalities. You have to show them that you're the leader, you're guiding them, you're showing them the way. Right. Soon after that, it became a little more than that. It became, okay, now you're not just doing this little team, you have a bigger team. And oh, by the way, there's a QA team. And oh, there's another production support team, and now you're managing all of that. And that leadership, that responsibility grows. And now you're responsible for a lot more people. You have to be sure that you know what you're doing. You're 100% convinced that you and your team are going to deliver whatever it is that you are set out to deliver. And you are taking care of the team. You're protecting them. You're removing obstacles for them. You are... If you have, one or two people who are not quite syncing with the rest of the team, you have to figure out how to get them into the fold, right? And make it like one unison effort. And that to me is leadership, right? And being able to have conviction in what you're doing. You have to be 100% unwavering in whatever it is that you're doing. And then you fast forward a little more, then it becomes now you're leading a whole department. And you're leading that department, you have to have a vision of what you want to do with that department, where you want us all to go, where we're all going together, and how you're going to deliver this. What is your message to the whole team? How do you brand that team? How do you develop everybody on your team into like brand ambassadors for your team? And that is so important. And I think if you hire the right people or you develop people the right way, I think there is a huge, huge payback in terms of what people can deliver then for you. And I think that is the key to success. And you go from like taking care of what you need to do as an individual to then managing an entire department where now you're taking care of everybody else, and they just start to just blossom and develop in a way that you could probably never imagine.
I love that, because then like, I like what you said, the brand of the team, because then like you're still successful, but your success truly becomes reliant on what you can lead and coach people to do. And as a consultant, that's very challenging, because you're not just working for your company, you're also working for a client. And so you've got to, I mean, that's a really tough role to be in. And like, I love what you said about the developing and the growing people. So this is sort of a two-part question. Along the way, and it's phrased as, have you benefited from a member or a mentor or a coach? But I'm going to make that like a little more broad, because I think it's tough to say that there's maybe just one person over a career that has been influential. But have you had those folks in your life that you've benefited from their teaching style? And then have you taken on that role for junior women in your workplace along the way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Good question. So I think mentors, coaches, sponsors are like super, super important to anyone's career, right? Because you can do a lot. You can do a lot on your own. You can put in all the hard work. You could have a great work ethic. You could be really, really sharp, but you need people to open doors for you. You need people to give you honest and constructive feedback and timely feedback, right? And you need people to tell you sometimes like, hey, you know what, maybe you could have done this a little differently. Or, you know, you didn't consider that. Or you just want to be like, sometimes I would go to my mentor and just say, hey, I'm doing this big presentation. I'm going to do a dry run with you. Just like poke holes in it, you know, be like the bad guy in the room that's like heckling me, and like, so I can overcome that with you. And then I'm much more confident when I'm presenting, right?
Yeah.
So those are things that like mentors can do for you, coaches can do for you, right? Also opening up, like giving you opportunities. If you have somebody in a leadership position that says like, you know, and I've done this for people, right? Like, hey, I know so-and-so works in this capacity, but has the propensity or the potential to do so much more. We should give her a chance. Let's like coach her, let's guide her to it so that she doesn't fail when she's in that position, but let's walk her through how to do this, and let's champion that cause and like elevate, you know, women where otherwise you see like guys getting all the, like men getting all the same, you know, opportunities. So why not do that for women? And I remember having a manager that was on my team that I coached. She was just top notch, like knocked it out of the park every time, but had such low self-confidence, right? She didn't want to get promoted because she was like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do like presentations in front of like 20 people. No, I can't do it. And I was like, oh my God, let's practice. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to practice. When you're in a meeting, you're going to say 3 things. Any 3 things that you want to contribute. Either ask a question, make a comment, make small talk at the start of the meeting. Whatever it is, you are going to be heard 3 times in that meeting. And then keep doing that for the next 2 weeks. And then start doing other things, like, you know, and build on that. And we worked together with nobody else in the meeting knowing that that was happening. And she finally, like in about 2 months, got over it.
I love that.
And I couldn't have been happier because I was like, wow, I actually helped her.
Well, I think what you said is so important. Like, you told her that she needed to be heard and she deserved to be heard. And I don't know that, I mean, I think that's such good coaching. Like, because if you don't open your mouth, like, those opportunities won't present themselves. So it brings up a question, because we ask this to a lot of people, and the answer, regardless of if you're a man or a woman, is always yes. So, have you suffered from imposter syndrome, and what do you do when it comes up?
So yes, of course, multiple times. It comes and goes. Okay, it's not, for me, it hasn't been like a debilitating thing. It's generally, when I'm like with senior leadership and they've all got like tons of years of experience, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to pull this off, right? And the best way to you have to give yourself a pep talk. Okay, it's there's you have to think about what got you to this position, right? You have to be good at what you do. Nobody has time to listen to somebody who's not worth that time, right? So clearly the fact that you've been asked to present something, or you've been asked your opinion, or just a seat at the table, there's a reason why you're there. Because somebody or a bunch of people believed in you.
I love that.
So why would you not believe in yourself?
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because like imposter syndrome, right? It's not funny, but imposter syndrome has been categorized as the 2021 anxiety du jour in the workplace for women.
Wow.
Okay. And I can't remember where I read this, but for women. And I'm like looking at this and I'm like, you know what? I read, I think it was Forbes or Business Insider or something that said men apply for jobs even if they have as much as 60% of the required qualifications on that posting, not preferred, required. Women will apply for it if they qualify 100%. Mm-hmm. So right out the gate, you haven't even spoken a word, you haven't sat at your desk, but you've walked through that new job doors and you are already more qualified than any man over there.
Right.
So think about that. That is so powerful. That statistic is so powerful. And the fact...
I've never thought about it that way. Like, I've never thought about the fact that a woman is going to be so much more qualified because of that fear of applying that men don't really tackle as much.
And I think that is so powerful. So you haven't even attended a single meeting, and you're so much more qualified than everybody else there, every other guy there. Right?
I feel like that's like a best practice piece of advice.
So, and then the other thing you can do, and this can be done like, in private, right? Like make a list of all the things that you're good at. Mm-hmm. Right? The things that got you to the position that you're in. You've clearly overcome some obstacles. You've been outside your comfort zone, right? All of those things have made you a stronger person. The fact that you know what you're talking about, you've been asked to talk about something, or you've been asked to like a question somewhere in a meeting, talk about it. Like, don't like I have like for myself, like I'll start to like slouch in a meeting. Today I'm doing it because I'm trying to get my voice. It's like, pull your shoulders back, okay? And like how people talk about washboard abs? I think of a washboard back, like your back straight, pull your shoulders back, and like speak like you know what you're talking about. And you got to practice it. I practice doing presentations in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
I literally do that.
I do too. And I think it's one of those things that people are like, oh, you're so natural at this. And I'm reading a book called Mindset that's like being called a natural is actually a negative, because when you're called a natural, then you don't do the things that practice that make you better. And people say, oh, you do a good job like moderating these things. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not just like I showed up and learned how to do this. I've done it terribly. And heavens knows it's been even harder on Zoom. But I love that. Like, you're supposed to be in the room and then practice those things that just make you feel stronger and that show that you deserve to be at the table, because you do.
And then one more thing, just one more thing to add real quick. Abraham Lincoln said, you can fool some of the people all of the time. You can fool all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all people all of the time.
Yes.
So think about the people that you're in the room with. They can sniff you out if you're faking. And if you continue to fake, they can sniff you out. So, give them some credit too. They'll know if you're not up to it.
One of I've heard from some of our members that their senior leadership women are really embracing vulnerability, and that, as hard as the pandemic has been on women in the workplace, the vulnerability that women have embraced by having their coworkers in their home like we are tonight and talking about their children or their parents or whatever has actually had a lot of women risen in terms of how they're viewed from a leadership perspective, because that vulnerability is, we just present well with it. And we show the world, sometimes I don't know the answer to a question. I have no idea how to run this platform. I can't really see the chat, but I'm okay sharing that with everybody because we're all figuring it out together. So speaking of being vulnerable and life outside of work, because clearly you've had a career, but you have not just worked for the last X number of years. How did you and do you manage work-life balance? And I'm not sure if you are a parent, but including parenting.
Yeah, so I am a parent of two girls. They're now grown up and they're in college. But I think that would have been one of my biggest challenges when they were younger, because I was very committed to what I was doing, and I wanted to show, that I'm just as good as any guy, and I can do long hours, and I'm not afraid of making decisions and things like that, right? But at the same time, my number one priority was always my family. Yeah. Is still, right? So it was family first, work second, and then working out third.
I love that.
So it was hard, but you know what? I've been very blessed because I have my husband who has we literally are a team, and we split our work, right? So I will cook, he will clean. One of us used to do drop off because my kids went to daycare when they were 6 months old.
Yeah.
Right. So one does drop off, one does pick up. We would literally sit down every night and sync up our calendars to make sure that if somebody had a late meeting, then the other one has to go pick up and do all of that thing. We had to be very organized. We would do meal prep, put a shopping list together. And with my OCD, the shopping list was organized by aisle in the supermarket. So we could just zip, zap, zoom. That's how crazy I am.
This is why you and I get along, because I do the exact same thing.
Yeah, so you have to be organized, but you also have to make time for your family, right? So I would come home, sit down with my kids, and we would cook together, whatever the dinner was, right? And then later on, my husband would help with their homework, and I was still doing whatever, finishing up all the cooking. Then we'd sit down, have dinner together. That was all family time, and nobody could interrupt that. And then when they went to bed, then I'd do maybe an hour and a half or so of work, right? So you have to balance that out.
Yeah.
And I think you also have to have leadership that supports that, right? Because sometimes you have a sick child, or you have, just you have to, I remember going to all the stay-at-home moms would have, these events that were at 9 o'clock in the morning. They'd have breakfast with mommy. And I'm oh, can't it be at 8:30? Why can't it at least be at 8:30? So I'm at work by 9:30. And I would stress about that because it wouldn't start on time and things like that. And so I think, I didn't know at that time how to handle that. I would just stress about it. And I'm there's nothing I can do. I have to be here. I'm going to be here. I'll deal with whatever happens at work later.
Yeah.
And that's how I went about it.
I mean, I think that those challenges have all presented themselves even more. I mean, you and I chatted a couple weeks ago, and you said, I don't know how parents with young children are doing this right now. So I've got one more question for you. And then we're going to open it up to our audience members, and we're going to hand over the mic, which is exciting. We'll get to see other people. So this is just a really important question for all of these like Portland Trailblazer fans here. What made you go the route from consulting and developing and leading teams doing that to this role you have with the Trailblazers right now? I mean, it's different.
A little bit, yeah. So first of all, let me just stand up because I very strategically wore my Trailblazer shirt today. So
We appreciate
normally
that.
I have like a very formal blazer and everything when I'm doing a presentation like this, but Trailblazers, you got to represent the brand, which I am like. So I've been with the Blazers, just for everyone knows, just 2.5 months. Okay, I just was recently hired as the VP of Technology, and I manage their broadcast technology, IT technology, and contact center technology. Right. So did I just say IT technology? Yeah, sorry, information technology. But anyways, so it's actually I was talking to Hazel, who I had one of the sessions with.
Yeah.
And I spoke so much because she asked me this question, and I realized that I didn't allow her to speak at all. So sorry, Hazel. Sorry for that. I was like so like into it about my job because I really do love it. But what made me do that? So we were in COVID at this point, right? Like it was almost like 6 months of COVID. And I was like, and I've moved to Oregon about 2 years ago. When I was with KPMG, all I did was travel. I was a complete road warrior. I was on the road like 80-90% of the time every week, right? So my experience in Oregon was on the weekend, literally. Every weekend I was here, and every Monday at like 6 o'clock in the morning, I was on a flight out to wherever. So I was thinking to myself, hey, you know what? It would be really good to kind of get to understand like and experience and like really put my roots down in Portland. It's such a beautiful city. I came here wanting to be here, all of that. So I actually changed my LinkedIn profile 2 years. I didn't realize that I don't go on LinkedIn very much. I didn't realize that it still said, New Jersey, where I was on the East Coast. So I changed it to Portland. And a recruiter said, you know what, there's this VP of technology job. Immediately picked me up, said there's this VP of technology job, but I can't tell you which company it's with. It's with. It's a nationwide search, and we're not allowed to say who. And I was like, yeah, well, how fancy are they? Like, they don't want to say who they are. So, my gosh, I think Krista's listening. Krista, earmuffs. So I was like, you know what, I'll go anyways. Let's see what happens. Like, who could they be? And she's giving me all these clues, they have like great brand loyalty. They're in the entertainment business, all of this. And I'm like, who are these people? I like Googled for like 30 minutes and couldn't find anything, right? And then finally, like about 2 or 3 rounds into the interview, they told me who it was. And I was like, wow, this is cool, right? Like, I really didn't watch basketball before either. So I'm a soccer fan. So that's another like full disclosure. But I was like happy to be part of it. I was like all in at that point. I met a bunch of people who were just super, super nice and great at the Blazers. Let me tell you, I'm not just saying this because I'm part of them, but awesome organization. If you guys want to join, go there. We've got job postings up there. Just go take a look. It's an unbelievable culture, a great organization, great for women. Okay. And from a technology standpoint, we're doing like so much cutting edge stuff, which I never thought sports tech would do. Awesome. By the way, we have literally, I was talking to Hazel about this. We were literally busy. I joined in November. 2 weeks after that, they told us, hey, we're going to start games. I thought I had this long runway, 3 months before they even talk about games. I'll like, settle in nicely, warm my feet, all of that. None of that. Drinking from a fire hose. We had 2 to 3 weeks to set up for all the games. Okay. We had all these COVID restrictions in place that we had to reconfigure all of our equipment, our infrastructure, everything, right? Because we had like 20 people at a table. Now you can have only 6 people because they have to be socially distanced. And you have to put new monitors in because they don't fit in the plexiglass and things like that, right? It's like the littlest things that you wouldn't even think of. We had to rejigger everything. Then we put in, contact tracing and health screening applications and all of this. It's just amazing. Now we're starting to look at, contactless check-in. So we have these pedestals and you put your phone in and all of that. So there's all this great technology that we're into, that we're doing. And it's just like, it's so invigorating. And I am so happy I made that decision.
Oh, that's such a great story. We're glad that you're there too. And thank you for sharing that with us. This is fun. I really enjoy it. I can't wait to actually see you in person. But now we get to open this up and people can request the mic, and other folks will be able to join us on stage. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk through it, but if you look on the bottom, I think, of your application, it says manage mic and you can request it. There we go. Linda wants the mic. Okay, I think I can do this. Oh, whoa, lots of people want the mic. Let's see if we get Linda in here. Okay. Yes.
Hi.
Nice to see you again, Linda.
Nice to see you again, Michelle. It was really nice getting to chat with you and, hearing Cara interview you. There's one question I've been dying, and you don't have to answer if it's super top secret, but in the sports entertainment arena, I've been very curious if, Blazer's been thinking about VR and 360 entertainment experience so people like myself could just sort of put on a headset and sit on the ground level.
Did you ask if they are thinking of it?
If that's something that they're thinking about, and what that would mean for your world, having to implement another new technology into the infrastructure.
So we've been thinking about 5G and how that will change the experience in the arena for any kind of spectator or fan. I don't think we've got to VR yet. So we haven't gone there yet. Or at least that I know of.
Sounds good. Thank you. I will yield my podium to so many other folks. I'm not sure how to.
Oh, and I'm doing things wrong. So we'll let Emily go, and then we'll have Daylin. Daylin, I'm glad you're having a glass of wine. That's normalizing it for me. Thank you very
much. Thank you so much, Michelle. I really enjoyed the interview. I really liked what you said about vulnerability in a leadership perspective, but I was curious, how you find the balance between being vulnerable and being open about what you know and don't know versus making sure that you're taken seriously in that leadership position. So I was curious if you could expand on that a little bit.
I think it depends on who your audience is. So there are 2 answers to that. Okay, one is when I'm with my team, I'm completely if I don't know something, I'll be okay, let me go find out about that. Right? I don't know about this. Here's why I don't know. This is what I can tell you that I know about, but that's the extent of it. Anything more, I'm going to have to either find out from somebody else or research or do something. So there's that is total. And what I like to do also, Emily, is make sure that I am forthcoming with my team with any information. Because I believe that if people have the big picture, they understand the purpose and the objective behind what they're doing, they will do that 10 times better, right? Because they have all the pieces of information that are peripheral to whatever that they're doing. And it puts it in a better context for them to be able to understand how to behave, how to operate, things like that, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is when I was a consultant and I'm doing a sales pitch, it is very hard when you're trying to sell your consulting firm services to tell a client that you've never seen before that you don't know something, right? And I'll be absolutely honest, we've danced a little bit and come up with creative ways to answer questions, there have been times when we say, hey, you know what, this is like way out of the scope of what we had planned for this thing. We'll come back to you. We'll have to talk to our specialists or talk to our experts and come back to you with an answer. But there have been times when we've been creative. There have been times when we've kind of shot from the hip, right? And I think a little bit of that is also good because it gives you the confidence that you can, just kind of think through things while you're like on your feet and you're able to produce an answer that actually makes sense, right? So I think it's that. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Emily, thanks for joining us too. From Boulder? Dalen, I think I dropped the mic on you. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, you didn't. Apparently, if you don't claim it fast enough, you lose it. There's a timer on the thing that pops up, and you have to click it. And I thought, well, I don't want to intrude on someone else's time. I'll just wait until she's done, and then I'll take them. Oh, there it goes.
I'm getting Slack coaching over here too. So we're just living the wild, wild world of the new world. All right.
I mean, like this is life, right? Like this is my day every day. I have no idea what we're doing, but we'll figure it out.
We're figuring it out.
So, thanks, Michelle, for your words around mentorship and sponsorship in particular. I think one of the things that I try to do as a leader of people is to create those opportunities for people and really like try to keep a Rolodex in my head of opportunities and people. And I'm always looking for compatible matches there. But one of the challenges I've had in my own career is finding someone that will do that for me. And I've taken a variety of different approaches. I have flat out asked people if they would be a mentor for me. I have hinted and danced around the idea of would they sponsor me for growth within the company. And I've had a really hard time gaining any traction there. And I wonder if you might be able to offer any insights on how to enroll a mentor into a mentorship relationship. Like, how do you present that in a way that says, I have value, I know that you see it, and I would love for you to take an interest in the growth of my career?
So, that's a really good question, Dalen, because I kind of ran into that too, right? Now, one of the ways that you can do that is by, and I don't know if you personally can do it, but we had this whole mentorship program at KPMG where you could sign up. There was a website. You could sign up for somebody to ask somebody to be your mentor. And the person could respond or not respond, whatever, right? But it was also like, there was mentorship day at KPMG. And that was like a focused way to get people to say, okay, we're focusing on mentorship today. And you got to then pick a mentor. Sometimes, people would refer you to other mentors. You had your own manager who would say, oh, I think these 3 people are good mentors for you. And you kind of sent them an email and you kind of got them to mentor you. So that was something that the organization did for us, right? As it was open to everybody. You could avail of it or not. And you could have as many members as you wanted to. So that might be something that you want to look at your leadership and say, hey, can we institutionalize a mentorship program where people either get matched with mentors or they can pick mentors in their organization? So you're in this network of people that you work with on a daily basis and you know them and you're just you admire somebody in a different position or you want to learn from somebody. And then that's a way to kind of make that relationship, right? So that's one way. Another way would be to maybe have somebody introduce you. Find somebody that has common ground, somebody that knows you well, somebody that knows the person that you want to be your mentor well, and then try to find that person to do an introduction. And then talk about why you want that person to be your mentor to the mentor. So they know really, what it is that you're looking for, why you pick them over everybody else, right? And I think that would also help. Because that's what I've done. I've got cold called people I knew of to be my mentor, no response, right? So yeah, I think that having somebody make that connection would help.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Dalen, what I'm hearing too is like maybe we have an opportunity at TAO to help foster some of those relationships. So I'm taking notes.
Let's talk.
I hear you. Okay, so we've got a few more minutes, and then I think we actually get kicked off of the platform. And I know there's a question in the chat about, do you see leadership promotions for women better within the same company or having a diversified experience? But we'll pause on that, and I may shoot you an email and get you to answer a couple more questions that we can send out to this group of women on this distribution list. And I was going to say, Peggy, if you are still out here and attending, I'd love you to maybe say a few last parting words for us. There we go. Peggy wants the mic, and she's being approved, and I guess grabbing it.
Here I am. So first of all, Michelle, I want to thank you for your presentation tonight. I thought it was a wonderful conversation, and you were so open and sharing with us that I learned things, and also some of your experiences reinforced some of my experiences having to do with that. I think women are naturally more emotionally in tune with the people that they supervise, and they care about mentoring them and advancing their careers. And that's what I heard from you. So I have huge high regard for that. And I agree with you. You have to know what you're doing as the prerequisite to being a leader. So when you combine knowing what you're doing and with those other values, who's to stop us?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I also want to thank everyone who's joined us tonight. This is my first experience with Run the World, and I thought it's a great platform. So kudos to the founders and for everything that they've created. But most especially, thank you all for attending tonight, and we hope to see you again in May. Now that's see you again. This is the way we all see each other these days, right? In May. And we really would value your feedback and input on the program tonight, how we can make it better. Although, Michelle, I'm not sure there's another way that we can make it better. You were so fantastic. And just ideas and suggestions. So thank you all for being with us.
Peggy, thank you. I agree. We evolved this series based on feedback from November, and I have to tell you, seeing all of you out there is amazing. We're apparently supposed to take a selfie.
Sorry, I'm kind of throwing this in the mix.
Yeah, let's do it, Ruthie. Tell us what we're doing.
So this is the chance we can all take a selfie together, and then it prints you out a little selfie that you can have as a memento of the event. A group feed or something.
So, all right. So we're supposed to smile, right? I guess we'll get a 1, 2, 3. And Utsi, Nadia knows the official terminology. Thank you for that.
Everyone can just take their own image, and then you say, use this one, and it will compile it into a group image.
Fantastic. All right. So we'll do that. We've got 60 seconds left. Peggy, thank you. Thank you for Packstar, for your continued support. Thanks for spending your evening with us. It's so great to see all of you. We love your feedback, particularly on the platform. We're actually giving feedback to the Run the World CTO. Riley and I have been meeting with her, which is awesome. Ruthie will send that survey out tomorrow. And then I get to give a shout out to my friend Dalen, who brought happy hour beverage. I did as well. If you know anyone that might be interested in sponsoring so we can do our fun women wine tasting event and have that to talk about as well, reach out to us. And with that, I'm going to get you right out of here at time. Thank you so much. These events really feed my soul. Michelle, you were amazing. I love seeing all the folks in the chat. It's like being with my friends. I cannot wait till I can be with you again. I'm not going to talk about it because I'll start crying. There's some vulnerability. So, have a great night. As always, reach out with feedback, comments, questions. Don't hesitate to do that. Michelle, thank you. I applaud you. We appreciate your leadership with the Trailblazers. And you all will see a special note soon because we're working on a special Women's History Month, Women's Day. So stay tuned. Michelle, do you want to close us out with the final word?
Well, thank you so much, Cara, for having me. I'm really, really happy that I did this, and I'm really honored that I got to speak to so many lovely people. So thank you for that.
Y'all have a great night.
Bye.